Hello, welcome back to Reading Success Academy. I'm Paula Smith. In today's word attack lesson, we're going to break a longer word down into smaller chunks to make it easier to read and easier to spell. Now, our first step in the word attack process is to look for special endings like shun, chur, shus, zher. There's 8 of them, but there's not a special ending in this word today. So we're going to move on to the second step, which is to look for groups of letters that work together to make one sound. Now, today's word has a little bit of something unusual to it, something that will jump out at your eyes as a group of letters that make one sound, but then we have to look a little bit closer because of the kind of letter that it is. Let's take a look at today's word. Okay, so today's word, as you're looking for groups of letters that make one sound, you probably notice that there are 2 C's in that one. So you might be thinking, well, I should probably just go ahead and group together those 2 C's, right? The only problem with that is that with the letter C, you have to look to the next letter after a C to decide whether it's going to be a K sound or a S sound. Now, the letters that clue you into whether it's going to be K or S are the letters E, I, and Y. So we look next door to our very first C, and we don't have E, I, or Y here. So we know we're going to say K in this place. So it's going to make the same sound as the letter K. But we have to do this with the other C too. We can't just look at the first one. So since this one has an E behind it, we're going to say S with this one. So each of these letters are going to get their own sound. So we can't group those together. All right, so let me give you those letters too, just so you know what to look for. E, I, and Y. Those are the letters that you want to look for after the letter C to tell you whether to say K or S. If you see an E, I, or Y, then you say S. If not, go with K. All right, so now we know, after looking at this word more carefully, well, there's really not anything that works together to make one sound. That means we have to make a sound for every single letter in this word. But that's okay. We're going to break it down one chunk at a time. So don't get overwhelmed. I'm going to leave this up here so we know what to say when we get to those letters. I'm just going to put these little slash lines there. Those slash lines just mean sound like. So that's the sound we're going to make when we get to each of those. Now, you might be thinking, well, hey, there's one more C in this one, right? Yeah, there is at the end. But again, we have to look and see next door, is there an E, I, or Y behind it? No, there isn't. So for that one, we're going to stick with the K sound. Okay, now we know what to say with those C's. Now we need to address the vowels, because vowels have more than one sound. All of them do. And what you want to do is just try something. You want to try with the most common sounds it can be. With this one, I would try eh. If you try E, that's okay, because I'll show you the process of changing it out, because you can still kind of hear the word happening even if you have one wrong vowel sound. So we're going to start here, and we're going to sound out until we think we have a chunk. We're going to say ack, ack. There's a chunk. And now we're going to start on this side of the line, sounding out again until we have a chunk. S, and, sen. And we'll put those 2 chunks together. Accent. Now we're not going to just keep adding on. We're going to start over again as if this was a whole nother word and sound it out. T, r, ick, trick. So now we're going to put all 3 of those chunks together. Eccentric, and smooth it out. Eccentric, eccentric. There you go. So there's your word. It's eccentric. Now, if you had started out with an E sound here, you would have gotten eccentric. And once you've blended all those chunks together, it may have sounded like a word that you knew, and then you can just change that one sound which is called phoneme manipulation. We're just changing one sound, one phoneme, and then you just put it back together again. You don't have to sound it all out from the beginning. All right, we've got this word sounded out. Let's take a look at what this word means. We'll get our little vocabulary word of the day in here. Eccentric is an adjective. Now, it can also be a noun. It can refer to as a person, but in this example, we have it used as an adjective, meaning unconventional and slightly strange. Okay, you could use it in a sentence like this: his eccentric behavior often amused his friends, but puzzled strangers. Probably puzzling strangers because they didn't know what he was really like, right? You know, because you know how your friends act, and you know if they're kind of unusual, you kind of expect that, right? But maybe not strangers. So if we're studying the spelling of this word, we're going to break it into chunks using some eye stoppers here. So we'll put that eye stopper between ek and sen, and then between sen and trick. And since there's nothing that works together to make one sound, there are no special endings, those are the only marks that we're going to make on this one. You just have to remember that there are two C's. Now, another way that you could look at this, you could say, well, the two C's together make a X sound, just like an X, but the letter X actually is, the sound for X is actually two sounds. It's K and S. So that's why I go ahead and split those up into two chunks there in that place. All right, hopefully you can think of a great word a great sentence using the word eccentric, and you can send that my way. Send your example sentences to hello@readingsuccessacademy.com. I'd love to see what you come up with, and maybe I can give you some feedback on your sentences. And make sure you hit that subscribe button so you see when I go live next. I will be back on Monday for another lesson. I'll see you then. Bye.